Welcome, my constant reader friends. I'm Tad, and this is Tad Read Books and Stuff. All right, so let's start off by talking about what we're reading. I'm into the second group of 6 stories in Preacher. This is book 2. You know, this is a marvelous team up with Graz from the GKBC. Be looking for the next installment of that coming soon. And that's it. That's all that I'm reading, because I did finish Stephen King's You Like It Darker. So this is the book we're going to talk about today. Now, you know that I wanted to read these last month, but last month with the concert, the being sick and everything, I didn't get any of it read. So we're just going to push it to this month. So this is done. I'm going to start reading probably Lenny Kravitz, then Amy Winehouse, and last we'll hit the Rush albums. But that's what's going to be for the rest of June. We've got a lot of stuff coming up in the summertime. There's a lot of challenge. The giant mammoth big book challenge is going to be going on again this summer. I'm sure probably Garb August is still going to be going on. I haven't heard anything about that yet. But several different things, and there's some books planned that I really wanted to get done this year. We'll talk about that as well. All right, let's get into this. So, You Like It Darker by Stephen King. Well, this came out May 21st. Yeah, usually I'm not reading books that just recently came out unless it's Stephen King. If it's Stephen King, I got to hit it as soon as possible. So, May 21st, 2024. This came out. This is another in the, short story compilation novels that Stephen King does from time to time. If you want to go back and look at some of my old videos, I did a whole project of videos called the Shorty King Project, where I went through and read all of the Stephen King short fiction, short story compilation novels in order of publication. Throughout the whole year, last year. So I'm going to add this to that whole project. So this is the next edition of the Shorty King Project. This book here, this is the first. I got it pre-ordered, and I did a little unboxing of it. My version has 502 pages if you count the afterword. I do. I like the afterwords in his short story compilations. Oftentimes, either the introduction or the afterwards, oftentimes he will go into some detail of each individual story and why he wrote them or how he came by the story, things like that. Doesn't really do it in this one. The afterword talks really lightly just about a couple of the stories. I don't know, I kind of miss it. I like when I get some of the behind the curtain look at how he came up with some of these stories. I'm going to tell you, well, let's continue with getting the numbers out of the way. Goodreads currently has this at 4.39, very respectable rating, and I gave it 4 stars. Not perfect, but enjoyable. As good as pretty much all of his short fiction. There are 12 short stories in this book, and I'm going to list them all and give you like short 1-sentence or 2-sentence kind of descriptions of what the stories are. But some of the descriptions that I'm going to give don't really give away really what the story is about. So I'm going to leave that up to you to go ahead and grab this and read this. But as far as the short stories go, short story compilations, I saw an interview with him where he said, well, you people really like the dark stuff, so I'm going to give you some darker stories. No. These are standard Stephen King stories. Many of them are very similar to other stories. Many of them are kind of rehashes of different stories. They're all, in his megaverse, taking place in Derry or Castle Rock, things like that. They all kind of are interrelated in some way to other things that he's published in the past, and specifically a couple that I'm going to point out. So, but it's not like totally different. It's nothing different from Stephen King. It's not darker than anything else he's ever written. It's pretty standard Stephen King, which I love. It's like, eating your comfort food. You sit back, read these, enjoy them for what they are, and move on. All right, let's start with number 1. So there's 12 stories. The first story is called Two Talented Bastards. If you are from Maine, or if you've lived in Maine, I lived in Maine for 15 years. Bastards is an often used word up there. It's an endearing word for friends or family that, But anyways, Two Talented Bastards, 60-page story. And you'll see some of his stories are very short. Some are pretty verbose, very, very long for a short story, almost novella size, which he does, right? So 60 pages. This is basically your UFO alien contact type story. Again, a lot of these themes are themes that Stephen King has done, for the past 50 years. He oftentimes will have a UFO, alien, some type of story in his short story compilations, or even in his books, of course. So that's Two Talented Bastards. Nice story. I liked it. 60 pages. Decent starter to the novel. Number 2, The Fifth Step. So this story is only 10 pages long. It's a quick one. The fifth step is, so this is when you go to AA for an addiction, but your addiction is actually the fact that you're a serial killer. Kind of interesting, kind of boring. Actually, I saw it coming from the get-go. Probably one of the weaker stories in the novel, and it's the second one. So just read through that 10 pages. You're going to know what's going to happen before you even get too far into the story anyways. Number 3, Willie the Weirdo. Oh, this is only 12 pages long. Another kind of strange short story. It's, I'll describe it as how to live forever through death and possession. And I'll leave it at that. You can read that story. Again, one of the shorter ones, 12 pages. Again, not my favorite, but definitely enjoyable. Nice little quick read if you're going to, read these stories before you go to sleep at night or something. Not bad, but not one of my favorites. Number 4, Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream. This one is 154 pages. I think it's the biggest story in the book. A little too long maybe, but probably my favorite one in the book. When you're reading a book and you get so pissed at some of the characters, it just makes you mad. Oh, this guy, oh. That's when you know he's gotten into you, right? He's grabbed you. He's got you hating these characters or yelling at the book and things like that. Very, very well done. So this is, what if you had a dream and it was like a psychic, prophetic dream about something, and you research it, whatever you do, you find out it's true, but by you doing that, it pretty much ends your life. Your life's ruined. It's a story about that and bad cops, really. Good story, really, one of the best in the whole book. Read that one. Number 5, Finn, 22 pages. What happens if you're just born unlucky? From the second you're born, you come out and the nurse drops you. And you just have bad luck your whole life, to the point where it's really bad luck. But you kind of just shrug it off. You live with it. It's really nasty, but it's almost like, of course that's going to happen to me. That's Finn. Not a bad story. Number 6, On Slide In Road. Okay, so very heavy baseball themed short story. This is a story about a family outing, a little travel they do, and they're traveling with their grandfather who's dying of cancer, kind of losing it. He's weird, he's rude, he can be mean, he's just a grumpy old Gus, but he ends up being the hero. Very reminiscent of like, it reminded me a lot of, what's the one he has, the rest stop ones that he does, where some bad things happen when you pull over on the side of the road for a rest stop. Check it out. Not a bad story, but again, not one of the best, but enjoyable. Number 7, Red Screen. Red Screen, another quickie, 10 pages. Another, let's say, think of, what was it called? Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That'll put you in with this book, this story. Very quick. No big deal. You're not going to be thinking about this for days or anything like that. Quick story. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Number 8, The Turbulence Expert. Again, another theme of Stephen King's. He has a fear of flying, and he writes about it a lot. A lot of short stories and essays about flying. This is another one, Fear of Flying. It's only 14 pages long. It's quick. Again, nothing special, but enjoyable. They're all enjoyable, which is what I really like about the book, to be honest. Number 9 is Lori. Now, number 9 is 24 pages. Kind of too long for me. It's really a setup, and it's not. It is because it takes place in this place called Rattlesnake Key. Rattlesnake Key, as you'll see in the next story, I'll talk about it more. But this guy, he's all alone now, and he's getting older. His sister, is nervous about him, so she gets him this little dog. He ends up, of course, not wanting the dog, but falling in love with the dog, and the dog ends up saving him from this giant alligator attack on Rattlesnake Key. Why I say it's a setup is because the next story, story number 10, is called Rattlesnake. And Rattlesnakes is one of the more longer stories. It's 90 pages long, and again, one of my favorites in the book. Why do I like it? Well, let's see. First off, it's right next door to Duma Key. So Rattlesnake Key is next door to Duma Key. Duma Key, the events in this book happened before the events in this one. So I'm not going to give the ending away of Duma Key because it kind of is important to the Rattlesnake Key, but you don't have to necessarily read them. They're kind of similar, these stories. What is Rattlesnakes? So Rattlesnakes is a story of this Rattlesnake Key where in the past this key in Florida was inundated with rattlesnakes, all kinds of snakes, but mostly rattlesnakes, and it plays a big part in the story. Similar to Duma Key, something happens to this gentleman. He goes to Rattlesnake Key to get away from his life and to try to just relax and regroup from the devastation that happened to him in Maine and in Derry. His name is Vic Trenton. Does that ring a bell? Maybe not. How about his wife, Donna Trenton? No? How about this? How about Tad Trenton? Yep. So Vic Trenton is the father of Tad Trenton, the husband of Donna Trenton, who are the prominent characters in Cujo. And of course, we know what happens to Tad in Cujo, and it leads to eventually, this is years after what happened with Tad and Cujo, years and years after Vic has gone to Rattlesnake Key because Donna has passed away. But a lot has happened in between then. He does explain it in this story, which is really cool. You know, he brings everything together. Everything is related somehow to everything. So Rattlesnakes has got the story before Lori. It's got Cujo. It's got Duma Key. It's got other characters. Pretty cool story. Really, what is it? It's a ghost story. Very similar to Duma Key. If you've read Duma Key, another ghost story type story for him. Really good story. Really liked it. You would want to get this book just for Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream and Rattlesnakes. And actually the next one, I really love the next one. The next one is called Dreamers. And Dreamers is only 34 pages long. So it's a decent sized short story, but it's a pure Lovecraft story. And you know I love Lovecraft. You know I love when Stephen King does Lovecraft. He does it really well. This is a pure, enjoyable, Lovecraftian story, and I loved it. You know, so Rattlesnakes, Dreamers, right back to back, really cool. Final story, the 12th story, The Answer Man. So The Answer Man, though, is another longish one. It's 50 pages long. It's the last story in the book, but I kind of liked it, but I kind of didn't, because it's a copy. It's a copy of another story he's already written. And it's from Full Dark, No Stars. And that story was called Fair Extension. What happens in Fair Extension? Fair Extension, guy has cancer. He's driving around. He shouldn't be, but he has to get out of this house. His wife is, he's dying, and he just wants to get out. And he sees this guy on the side of the road, got an umbrella and a table. And it says, I can't even remember, but basically he goes up to it, and the guy says, I can change your life if you sell your soul. It's the classic devil, sell your soul to the devil, and things happen. It's kind of the classic monkey's paw type kind of story, which he does a lot as well. And it was a good story in here. In this one, in The Answer Man, the guy is sitting on the side of the road. He sees a sign, The Answer Man. He's got some things going on in his life that he really kind of needs some answers to. So he decides to he's a young man. He decides to pull over and see what's going on. The guy has a table with an umbrella. He's a goofy old Gus. And he eventually has to pay to ask these 3 questions. But then it really turns out to being whatever you can get in 5 minutes. But anyways, it's the same thing. It's like he's talking to the devil, and he's giving him answers, yes or no answers. You can't kind of ask what if type things or like that. You have to basically ask yes or no questions. Takes him a while to get a handle on how to do that, but he does. He gets a couple questions out of the way. Then his life goes on. Some other things happen that he really needs some questions to, and lo and behold, he's driving. This is like 50 years later. He's driving around, and there's another sign, Answer Man, up ahead. And he pulls up. There's a table, umbrella, same guy, hasn't aged, sitting there. He knows they kind of recognize each other, but now the price is more for the questions. He asks the questions. He doesn't like the answers, but he gets the straight answer. It's really a copy of Fair Extension, except it's not selling your soul, it's asking questions. It's a solid story. Again, not one of my favorites in the book, but not one of my least favorites. I probably would say the 5th step was the worst for me. Willie the Weirdo was no big deal for me. Finn wasn't the greatest, but good stories, good solid stories. I think you will not go wrong if you're a Stephen King fan, the short story or you aren't, or what am I trying to say? You want to, I get this question a lot. I want to start reading Stephen King, but I don't know where to start. I say just start. Start at the beginning. Read Carrie normally. But you can, if you want to go get into him a different way, reading his short story compilations is a good way. And this is just as good a book as any to start off with. To become kind of familiar with his writing style, you know, which I love, his character building, world building, things like that. You'll find all that here in this book. Very easy read, 500 pages, won't take you long. Set it by your bed, read a couple short stories, you know, before you go to sleep at night, and you'll thoroughly enjoy it, as I did. So that's it. Stephen King, If You Like It Dark, another installation in my Shorty King project. And as usual, if you find any entertaining value in my videos, please like, please subscribe, please leave me comments, and until next time, peace out.